What's up, guys? It's Mr. Wicklehouse, and we have made it through Unit 1. This is the last video for Unit 1, so you should feel pretty proud of yourself. You've made it through, dealt with my insanity, so on and so forth. So this last video is about composition of functions. To start out with this, I wanted to talk about plugging these values into the functions in order to solve for this f of x for particular x values. So, I don't know if you guys remember how to do this or not, but if I'm doing f of 3 like this, then I'm just taking this 3 and I'm going to plug it in for the x. So f of 3 equals 3 minus 3. I'm just taking the 3, putting it in the place of the x, which of course 3 minus 3, that's just 0. Okay. Here's another one. G of 7, the function g, evaluated at the x value of 7. Just take the 7 and I plug it in for the x. So then to simplify this, I do 2 times 7 is 14 plus 1. That one's going to be 15. Okay. So not only can we plug numbers into these things, we can also plug expressions in. So this is h of x plus 2. So in for the x value, I'm putting another expression in, x plus 2. So then here's my function 4 minus 3x, but instead of the x, I'm putting x plus 2 in. And I'm going to simplify this. 4, distribute the negative 3 through here and here. So I get negative 3x minus 6. Simplify a little bit more, combine the 4 and the negative 6, I get negative 3x minus 2. This is just the same as plugging a number in, except it's an expression instead. Let's do one more. This is k of n minus 2x. And I'm just plugging that in for the x. There's just an x here, so there won't be any simplification or anything like that. So I just do n minus 2x. So in place of the x, I just put that. Composition of functions is very similar to that. It's the same idea. So composition of functions is when we insert one function into the other function. So I've got these two functions here, f of x equals 2x and g of x equals x minus 4. Well, when we see a composition of functions, just like back here, when we plug these numbers in or these expressions in, instead we're just taking the function and plugging it in here. You'll see them written like this. So I've got f of g of x, and what I like to do is right here where the g of x is, I'll take this whole function and plug it into this part so that I kind of know what I'm doing, and it kind of is like going back to this. So I'm going to do f of x minus 4. Okay. Well, I know my function f is 2x, so I'm going to do 2 times x minus 4, because I'm just plugging the x minus 4 in for this x. Simplify that, I get 2x minus 8. Okay? Sometimes, instead of written like this, you'll see it written like this, where you've got your g function with the little circle in between the g and the f. So this is the same as this. This is f of g of x, but this one is g of f of x, so it would be kind of like this. Instead, it's kind of backwards. Whatever the first one that comes is the one that we're plugging the other function into, okay? So now this one, I'm putting the f of x here and here, so I'm going to do g of 2x. I'm taking that 2x function and plugging it in here for this f of x. then I'm going to do, I know my function g of x is x minus 4, so I'm just putting the 2x in for the x minus 4. And that's it. That's all there is to these composition of functions. Let's do a few more. I'll do 2 more, and I'll leave these last couple for you to think about yourself. Okay? So let's do f of h of x. So here's f of x. This is x minus 3. So, and then h of x is over here, 4 minus 3x. So what I'm doing, I'm going to do f of 4 minus 3x. Okay? So I'm just plugging the h of x in there for that. Well, then I'm going to do f of x is this x minus 3. Well, where that is, I'm going to put the 4 minus 3x in for the x. So 4 minus 3x minus 3. So this is just in the place of where the x is. Then I'm going to simplify. 4 minus 3. So I get minus 3x plus 1. Okay? Just plugged in the function where the x was. It's as easy as that, and then simplify. Let's look at g of h of x. So here's g of x. So I'm going to do g h of x is this, 4 minus 3x. So for the g, I've got a 2. Then where my x is, I'm going to plug the 4 minus 3x in. Then plus 1. Simplify, distribute. 8 minus 6x plus 1. Combine the 8 and the 1. Get minus 6x plus 9. Final solution. That's all there is to this, guys. You're just taking whatever the other function is and you're plugging it in for the x of the other function. Look at these last 4 examples. If you need me to go through them with you, I will. Just come up and talk to me. And that's all there is to it, guys. I'll talk to you later.